Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, I am in casual mode today. Let's have a casual Friday. Let's talk about assets that people are interested in. Let's do this with free cash and risk aversion. What to buy? Friday, 11:34 a.m., April 2nd. Today's episode is sponsored by Change Angel, the non-custodial swap exchange for social goods. Stop depositing on exchanges. Not your keys, not your crypto. Non-custodial DeFi. Or nothing at all. That's the name of the game. Stop taking risks. But today is a day where risk feels minimal. The markets are primed. There's a correlation with dollar appreciation, which is interesting. We've seen historic inverse correlation, and now we've seen correlation. So it is what it is. The data tells us what to think about the markets. So this is, let's pop it over to the main screen, see who's in the stream, and let's get this party started. I got 1 inch up. 1 inch looks solid. I bought a nice position down here, maybe like 4.25. But actually, I bought a large position at 4.25. I sold a good portion of it at 550. Let it go up. Joy. I have the large position was an over position, and the way I think about stuff like that is the goal is to get it back down to my rules for a risk on position. So I got 25 cents or so on like a nice size 100 chip, give or take, and now it's down at a decent size. What do I got? I have 2200 1 inch. Let it go 10x on the money. I'm not going to complain turning 10K into 100K. Bear with me 1 second. I'm getting a text message I need to reply to. All right, we got Mr. Weeby in the house. Always a pleasure. Wants to bite on BNT. I already have a large BNT position. Obviously that's me speaking for myself. BNT, it was like 30 cents in March of last year. It's pennies. So I like BNT at this price. I think it has significant potential to appreciate. It's just about risk tolerance. You're not going to pop 25%, 30% of your portfolio into BNT. As I always say, you 1, 2, 3%. You turn 1% of your portfolio into 10% of your portfolio. It changes everything. So I'm a big fan of BNT. I like the monetary policy of Bancor. I think they're pushed to the sidelines too much as compared to Uniswap. Obviously, I like 1 inch. But these are obvious, both of them. Even all things considered, Bancor is it's 2%, 2.5% of the portfolio, give or take, something like that. Food for thought. I like giving you guys percentages of what I've done, because that gives you a point of reference for position sizes. And small percentages are all you need of the risk on assets, and the goal is really to protect capital. My biggest allocation as of currently is a dollar denominated, the curve. I'm in heavy in Ethereum at this point, actually. Wow, 2070. That's cool. I mean, look at this chart on the weekly. This thing looks prime. Totally a skip off the MACD. Stoke RSI is completely oversold territory, and RSI is about a little over 70, which is really cool. That's very bullish. We want to see that thing just rip to 80, 90, 100, and that's when you see the prices jump. So when you see bullish momentum like this, you'll see Stoke completely top out, and it'll just ride 100. But obviously RSI has significant room to go. And none of these rips, like the last rip to the upside up to 100 was a while ago. So even the all-time high rip wasn't a rip to 100. We can see a very pronounced appreciation cycle over the next couple of days. Frankly, considering the weekly, it could be 7 days. It could be multiple weeks. We'll see what plays out. But this is one heck of a weekly candle. Isn't that incredible? Frank's talking about the 1 inch. So it's a 1 inch is notably very volatile. Bancor is very volatile. I mean, Ethereum is volatile, but it's a macro asset. It fits a very different category for a portfolio position. Um, I'm heavy in Ethereum. I'll give you the percentage. 10%. Wow, a little bit more. 11, 12%. That's what I got for 1 inch. 1 inch. I'm sorry, Ethereum. The 10, 11, 12% of the portfolio is Ethereum. That's a large position, very large position. Dr. T's liking the BNT. Arf's in the house. What's up? Stacking. Noah, what's your FU financial freedom number? Um, Quarter mil a year in interest. You can't work in numbers. You need revenue stream. With a quarter mil a year in interest on the capital, then I'll work. I'll do whatever the heck these corporations want me to do. But that's when you have psychological freedom. You know, you're making a decent number. Well, that's a decent number. It's not. That's middle class. That's upper middle class is about a quarter mil a year nowadays, which is quite disturbing. You know, with the average salary being about 50K, in my opinion, that's a poverty salary, unfortunately. But if you're making 50 grand a year, 100 grand a year in interest on your capital, that's something to be proud of. Probably need about to make 50 grand a year. You probably need about 250,000 dollars in crypto, and you could do that using Curve or Yearn, and you could take increased risk and get even more yield. Barnbridge, um, Vespers throwing around yield. There we entertain Binance Smart Chain, but with 200, 250 grand, you know that, and you could get some. You could be making a full time average United States citizen salary just with your capital. That then that changes everything. But you also, with the complexity there is, you could make that money using dollars, crypto dollars, stable coins, but you still want your Bitcoin exposure, so you probably need more capital. Um, so you probably drop it down to like 30 grand a year in interest with a Bitcoin and Ethereum position. And then, but then, then the complexity of portfolio management is you have to neglect the smaller altcoins or have relatively small positions because you just don't have the capital to throw around. And this is why I talk about portfolio balance all the time. You need the vast majority of your capital earning interest. That's the staple. That's the core of the purpose of your portfolio is not to bet and gamble on appreciation of assets, but it's to generate a recurring revenue stream. And that's exactly what you're talking about, stacking. That's the FU money. It's not 5 mil, 10 mil, because you need to know how to manage that money. 5 mil is going to do you no good if you're pulling 5 grand out of the checking account every week or whatever your consumption levels are. You need to be making money so that 5 mil is there producing 5 grand a week. You see what I'm saying? Because then you're never spending your money. You're spending the money your money makes, and you're putting your money to work like an employee. And your employee is generating revenue. And that revenue you're paying taxes on, and it's a salary, and it's working instead of you. So believe it or not, you actually pay tax when you work. You just never see it. It's called tax withholdings. If you didn't pay, if there was no tax withholdings, people would be going nuts around the country. Could you imagine getting paid 50 grand a year in cash? You get your money, but then at the end of the year, you have to give the government $15,000, $18,000, whatever the number is. Cut a check for $18,000. That would drive people nuts. AKT, Dr. T. I don't know about it. I could take a look. Not at the moment, but I'll take a look. 2710. Hey, Noah, thanks for the heads up on EPS. Bought a small position last night. Then, boom, woke up to a 90% rip while sleeping. Print money. Wild. So, stake. EPS is a staking asset. Literally, they just give me. I'm just getting free. It's free cash. I've never seen anything like this. This is the most incredible airdrops. I'm getting weekly airdrops of like $6,000. It's crazy. Let's flip over to Binance Smart Chain. Let's give a refresh. So I literally the 2,500% APR. We get like 150 EPS a day. That's that's just crazy. But it is, frankly, it's monetary creation. This is value creation because people are purchasing it. It's a sustainable price point. There's a supply and demand. There's a purpose to the asset. Governance, same purpose as Curve. That's crazy. Literally, I think I claimed yesterday about like 1 in the afternoon and 150. Just hello. And this is basically just me compounding the weekly airdrops and the yield. That's a whole nother level. So my recommendation isn't never to buy actually EPS. You buy Curve and you lock your Curve for VE Curve, and then you're going to get EPS for free. And frankly, locking it is supportive of the system. That's what EPS, that's what Ellipsis wants. They don't want people dumping it, triggering depreciation in price. They want it locked. What do we got? Tell me it's over $5. Oh my God. Oh, that's just dirty. Oh my God. What if they airdrop me? It was $7. Let's say $7. Oh my God, they airdropped 14 grand so far. That's crazy. Well, EPS Dr. T is on Binance Smart Chain, so that's a whole ridiculous complexity, including a substantial amount of risk. It's impossible to get any value over to Binance Smart Chain if you're a U.S. citizen. Binance Smart Chain is a centrally controlled EVM blockchain that runs the Ethereum virtual machine. You're literally interacting with it using your Ethereum wallet. And MetaMask will support it, and it'll share the same address as your Ethereum address. It'll be the same address on Binance Smart Chain. But there's only one way to get any meaningful value over to it, and that's the Binance Bridge. The Binance Bridge is legally inaccessible to U.S. Residents. You're not allowed to access it. There's decentralized ways to get value over, but they're either cumbersome or lack any meaningful liquidity whatsoever. So you'll have like 80% slippage last time I checked on any swap. So it's just completely. I wouldn't transfer any value onto it as a U.S. citizen. So all this value is literally they're just cranking it out as airdrop. It's free, so that's great. And if I ever wanted to take value out, that's actually pretty easy. Given that they give me BUSD, or I could sell EPS for BNB, so I have my gas, I would use the Run Bridge, and I would then want to have Bitcoin, real Bitcoin, which is awesome. Sam's in the house. Welcome, welcome. Brady's in the house. A pleasure. My portfolio strategy treats Bitcoin as the goalie, cash and 3-year investments as middies, and small cap speculation as strickers. So that's quite reasonable. Bitcoin is at the core of any solid crypto portfolio. Balance is what counts. Bitcoin shouldn't be the majority of a portfolio. It should be a significant position. As I've mentioned, Bitcoin's probably about 25% of the portfolio right now. Ethereum's 12% also, and then the cash is 20, a little over 25, maybe 28% cash, generating 50% interest. So that's the structure of the portfolio. The larger components of it. Basket DAO, I'll take a peek. Power Pool Index Competitor. All right, well, definitely going to take a peek because Power Pool, man, I just love that. I love YLA. That's awesome stuff. Now, the only reason I exited my YLA positions because I went right into Curve, and I have a boatload of VECRV. So I can maximize my curve yield without the need for the urn vaults. The urn vaults are very meaningful because they have their YVE curve, which allows their vaults to experience the higher end of the pool emissions if you don't have any VECRV. So I got my VECRV position very early, and that was dirt cheap relative to what it is now. Curve's at 344. I bought my curve at 20 cents. So what is curve? Curve is 8%, 9% of the portfolio, give or take, something like that. Yeah, Chainlink ARF is a big deal. No, I don't know, but it's not going to be worth more than Bitcoin. Come on. Unless it's even YFI is not worth more than Bitcoin. Alchemix, ALCX, that thing's worth a couple of $1,000s. Chainlink's a massive deal. You really have more of it in your portfolio than Bitcoin. Talk about maximum risk. I mean, Chainlink fits into a narrative, a macro narrative, but Bitcoin is a macro narrative that's subscribed to by the world elites, billionaires, family offices, hedge funds. That's full on in adoption mode. So Chainlink's not at that level. It's an altcoin. It has volatility. It has its story that it fits into, but it needs to be positioned not respective of its macro narrative, but positioned relative to how it fits into the big picture of crypto assets and how a portfolio needs to respect that big picture. Your goal is not to make the most money possible. Your goal is to balance a portfolio, and your portfolio is going to make as much money as it possibly can. The better you balance your portfolio, the more value you will accrue, the more money you will make. Focus on balancing the portfolio with proper structure, respectable structure, rational structure, and your portfolio will do right by you. Stop thinking about the gains. Stop thinking about making as much money as possible. Focus on the percentages, the balance, and the components, their purpose, their meaning, their significance. Bitcoin, risk minimized over years, 200% annualized appreciation for the last 10 years. Risk minimized fits into the a risk off position in macro financials, albeit it's not really behaving as such. So that's topic of conversation that's interesting. But clearly, it has properties that are far superior to gold. So that's what Bitcoin is. We've talked about Bitcoin. Everyone knows the Bitcoin story, but that's the whole point. Look at each asset, define the story and the significance it contributes to a well-structured and crafted portfolio. That's what you focus on, and the portfolio is doing the work for you. And the portfolio, your portfolio, will make what it's going to make. So stop trying to make a fortune. That's how you don't make a fortune. Wow, EPS hit 970 Binance listing overnight. Yeah, I mean EPS is this thing just goes up. That's crazy. So I have no interest in selling it. I have no interest in buying. I wouldn't spend any money on it. But I'm going to compound it. I'm going to participate in the platform. It has much potential. I mean, Binance Smart Chain has critical mass momentum. It has network effect. As much as folks have a distaste for how centralized it is, and China could literally just shut it down by turning off electricity to the validators. It has network effect, and that's meaningful. So, I have my distaste for Binance and their products. I have basically full-on distaste for Binance Smart Chain and every food group that's built into a project. It's ridiculous. I respect that it has critical mass momentum and network effect. I have to. Everyone has to. It's a $50 billion network. And that's awesome. So there's meaning there. What I would argue is there's much more risk in the Binance world. So just if you manage your risk, don't send any value over there. Figure out how to play the game. But man, there's a lot of risk. There's much more risk on Binance Smart Chain than anything that ever existed on the Ethereum landscape. Dr. T, AKT, currently 50 60% staked yield via Kepler. Um, well, just a little. That's cool. It's okay to dabble. I got title insurance. I got power index, CVP. I have small positions. Cresco Fin. I got 100 of those bad boys. I got some Alpha Finance, like 3,000 of those. So small position in Aave. I have 25 Aave, which I've had for a long time. I got that at like $80. It's worth $408 at this point. So, but see, that's a perfect example. A small position in Aave at $80, 25 is like was, and now at 409, it turned into 10 grand. I'm not going to complain about that. And 10 grand is now compounding, earning yield at 8% or whatever the security module is spitting out nowadays. M stable ARF. Well, I don't know about M stable, but I like IMUSD and Meta. Yeah, I think I think there's much potential there. And actually, so a good part of this stream was me to contemplate what to do with some cash. Um, I don't know about the governance asset, but I like the idea of throwing it into what is it? M stable. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, this is a good place to park cash. I'm tempted. Maybe I'll throw it into the MUSD pool on Curve. What I got Binance Smart Chain selected. Let's reselect Ethereum. 17%. All right. Well, that's 17% at IMUSD. So if you mint, what's it at? 30%? 30%? Yeah, about 30%, give or take. So that's pretty cool. 30% on your dollars plus another 17%. And you get a little something on top, denominated in MTA. I wish the emissions of MTA were larger. So I've had this in there. I have a couple of emissions pending. It's two MTA. What the heck? But if the emissions were larger, I would just have thrown a lot of cash into this thing. I think it's there's a lot of room for appreciation of what they built here. An aggregate stablecoin built with stablecoins. I mean, that's a lot of yield. You're talking 40, 50% on dollars between the mint for MUSD and then minting to IMUSD. 17%. That's a big deal. White Wolf, do you have a favorite curve pool? Man, GUSD. I love GUSD because it's basically three pool paired with GUSD, and GUSD is your cash in and out of the crypto space. It's so easy to get cash in and out from Gemini using GUSD. If you want cash out, you literally just swap to GUSD and send it to Gemini, and you have dollars, which you could just instantly, you know, uh, start the transfer process to a bank account in ACH. So GUSD is cash in and out. So I like that pool. Bear in mind, a lot of these pools are throwing around a lot. Like PUSD is throwing out 100 and something percent. But there's, I you have to consider risk with the non-standard stable coins. SDUSD is cool. Obviously, USDT, DAI, and USDC. Those are your standards. So any pools that consist of those, I kind of max them out relative to my EVE curve position and to maximize the yield, obviously. So curve is just the centerpiece of my portfolio at this point. The curve emissions are just immense. By this time in 1 year's time, I'll double my curve position. Let's put it that way. And that's why it's just so cool. It's just, I'm probably just going to compound it. Although you do have to keep value on the side because of taxes. You're going to have to pay taxes on the emissions, which is a hot mess. But token tax takes care of it. They tell you how much you owe. Was considering holding a small position in Digibyte. I'll wait for Digibyte until it's about 17, 18 cents. Yeah, take a peek. I wouldn't buy Digibyte right about now. So if you go out to the daily, so it looks strong on the 4 hour, but on the daily, look, we're sitting on 200 SMA support, but we're below the 200 EMA as resistance. So and they're all pointing down. So that's quite bearish. And then if you go out to the weekly, no, you're not going to have it. I selected the wrong. I selected Binance. I want to select history, which is Bittrex. So on the weekly, as you can see here, you got to get above the 200 SMA on the weekly, and we're not even close to above the 200 EMA on the weekly. You're talking about at least double. I want to see the Bitcoin denominated price double. So I'm talking about 16, 17, 18 cents, and that's when I'd consider taking a position. It needs to get above the resistances. So you see, I wait for it to go up. When you see my old little drawings, we breakout, retest, higher high. Breakout, retest, higher high. I want to buy on the way up. I don't want to buy for it to just hit a damn resistance and for it to go down. I don't want to wait for it to go down and then back up. I want to buy it when I have confidence suggesting it's going to keep going up. I want to buy on the way up. I know a lot of people don't talk about it the way I do. People are like, buy the dip. No, I don't want to buy the dip. I want to wait for the dip to go back up. Been in Link ICO having, well, you're just freaking killing it now, aren't you? Well, that's a different story. You're in a position like me with Ren. I have Ren at 6 cents. It's just hold your link, man. Just forget about it, and that's cool. You'll end up staking it, and that's a heck of an investment you got there, bro. The link is massive market cap right now. You got in at the right time, so that you have won. You have succeeded. That is something. That is definitely an achievement. Are transfers to and from Gemini immediate? Block? No, they're it. Yeah, Gemini. You transfer GUSD is an Ethereum transaction, so you're talking like 30. Probably they wait for confirmation, so I think it's like 30 minutes maybe for like 30 confirmations or whatever. And then money out to a bank account is an ACH transfer. So Gemini is very seamless with regard to their money in, money out from the crypto and DeFi space, vis-a-vis GUSD. I've taken plenty of cash out, and it's really painless because the second you transfer GUSD to Gemini, it's instantly converted to dollars, and you're able to just withdraw your dollars to your bank account. So that's really, really cool. GUSD is one of my favorite stablecoins. It's um, I prefer it to USDC, but USDC has much more liquidity. So most of my DeFi plays are denominated in USDC, but GUSD is the coolest stablecoin by far. Do these pools decrease emissions once the common folk figure? So it's all about dilution. Of course they do. More capital flows in, it all gets diluted. So if you're in early, you're capitalizing on insane yields because it's not diluted yet. So yields go down when you have dilution, and also yields go up when the transaction fees go up. So that's the way these systems work. It's all about supply and demand, transaction volume. Um, that's it. It's just really as simple as that. So people hesitate. They're like, these yields aren't sustainable. Of course they're not sustainable. Of course these damn yields aren't sustainable. But that's not the way interest works. That's not the way yield works. You're going to get your yield now, and when dilution occurs, the yields will go down. Is that a bad thing? No, that's expected. So that means you get a position now, and you get 100% on USDP or 50% on GUSD on Curve, and it'll go down over time. You make a damn yield. Don't miss out. Well, that's not for you to FOMO, but we're talking about stable coins on Curve. And if you're too worried about that, you go on Armor Finance and you get an insurance position about on your Curve position. Boom. You insure it. What is your elevator pitch for Digibyte? Long-term critical mass decentralization, it's not going anywhere. So for it to experience asymmetric appreciation, the massive community will do that unto itself. We saw it in 2017, 2018. It was massive appreciation. So aside from catching that type of event, you're talking about longevity and adoption and whatnot. The thing that Digibyte has on its side is time. It has critical mass decentralization, which is something I'll mention continuously over and over again. It's still susceptible to security events. It doesn't have critical mass hash rate in any of the major or anything that makes it overwhelmingly secure at a macro scale. Can't be used for banking infrastructure or, dare we say, sovereign purposes. But that doesn't mean it can't from inevitably. And that's what's so important about its critical mass decentralization. It will exist. So there's much potential, speculative potential. And what is the entire crypto space operated on? Speculation. So as long as Digibyte gets over that 200 SMA, I'm cool. And then I take a position. It's a pain in the neck to take a position. You're going to have to not use DeFi, use non-custodial, Change Angel. Great, lovely. I have a penchant for DeFi because it's instantaneous. But that's exactly why Change Angel sponsors the program. If you're not accustomed to or not comfortable with DeFi, at least use non-custodial for. Oh, come on! Not your keys, not your crypto, non-custodial DeFi, and nothing at all. Bam! Let's restart the stream. No, we're not going to do that. If you purchase AUSD on 1inch, does Aave lose fees? No, the 1inch is the way to go because you have your chi, and you're going to save a shitload on gas. That's the way you do it. Dr. T, if I, for example, need 15K in cash and don't want to ever sell any crypto, where would you go to loan at this point? So Celsius is tempting because you get 1% if you over collateralize, 25% TVL, LTV, loan to value ratio. So 1%, come on, that's a heck of a loan rate. But you're going to miss out on the simplicity of Aave, but you got to get a stable yield, a stable rate. So you're probably talking about 10%. But that's the whole thing about crypto. If you're going to borrow at 10%, the rest of your portfolios should be making 40, 50%. Borrow an Alchemix. Now you're talking. Die into Alchemix, self-paying loan, and they'll give you 50% loan to value. So Alchemix is actually something to consider. Arf, big fan of Badger. Yeah, I like Badger. Badger's a level 2 DeFi product. There's no monetary velocity, but it has the monetary policy. It has no lending and borrowing components, nor does it facilitate transactions. But it has its monetary system that it created with inflation or decaying inflation or whatever the emission schedule is. And then it also has its incentivized supply disruption component. So that's the way Badger works. And that's basically everything on Binance Smart Chain. That's all they've built. And now Curve comes along with monetary velocity, and Aave's getting in, and Matic as well, and the core components that are creating an incredibly explosive event for the DeFi space are products that facilitate lending and borrowing and transactions, because that's monetary velocity. And that's what creates value, as I mentioned on Twitter last night, maybe. When you lend money, you're actually creating value, at least according to traditional financial ways of looking at things. Macromind, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin supercycle versus historic 4-year trend cycle? Yeah, it's different this time. We'll only know in hindsight how it plays out. But there's all the reason in the world to think that this cycle is going to be very different. And we'll have adoption, significant adoption. Let's say there's a blow off top to a $500,000 and it stabilizes around 175, 200,000. Whoa, woo, yeah. Now you're talking. So that's cool. Who knows what it's going to be? It's all speculation. But the appropriate thing, at least for 25% of my portfolio, is to find out what it's going to be. So bear in mind, Dr. T, also Oasis. So I threw some Bitcoin in, a lot of Bitcoin, half a mil worth, borrowing 158,000, which I threw into Curve. So Oasis, you'll get 5% on Ren BTC. So that's what's going on there. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin Super? Arth, my man, right? Crazy times. All right, so Ethereum's ripping at 2066. Digibyte has a ways to go. I was looking at 1 inch earlier. You guys heard my thoughts on that. Take a nice small position, couple thousand. Um, Anything else? Don't forget to compound your synthetics. That's going up in price nicely, actually. 20.94, $21. Bancor, I'm not compounding. The damn contracts are too expensive. I'm just going to let that thing accumulate. You saw that kid the other day on Twitter. That boy made 600 grand on Bancor dollar stables. Wow, that was awesome. Cosmos just long term. That's about it. Ren is set and forget. Ren is my version of your link, Arf. That's the deal. That's the deal, everybody. All right, let's wrap it up. Friday, 12:09 p.m., April 2nd. 36 people on the stream, 17 likes. We can do better. I thank you all for joining. I hope it helps. That's really all I hope it does. Think about risk. Think about portfolio balance, position size. Don't take excess risk. You want a significant portion of your portfolio to be in stablecoins producing interest. You leverage your assets to generate more yield and protect your gains. Quick to sell, picky to buy, and just do things different. Do it different the way everyone else does it, and that's how you set yourself up for a good win. It'll make all the difference in your life, boys and girls. I wish you all a wonderful day. I wish you all a wonderful weekend. I might take Monday off, but it's all good. I will see you either Monday or Tuesday next week. My man, you have a good one now. Peace.